Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the thing I do on the internet. We're taking a look at a new game called Rheum. Just happened up on Steam. I suppose that's a thing. Quickly going through the options here and finding out there's not a lot of them. I mean, there's a cool little design to adjust your sound and your music, and it lays out your controls. However, no ability to no option to rebind them, which ultimately I think is, as we play through, is going to be my ultimate criticism of it all. For those who want to know a little bit of the inside take of it, I usually play with my arrow keys, with the X and Z keys being my fire and bomb respectively, that sort of thing. This game is bound to like WASD and the mouse, with WASD being your movement and your essentially just your mouse buttons, you know, your sort of fire and your bomb. And on the surface, I would say like, oh sure, that doesn't matter, or many people will say, oh, that doesn't matter, who cares? However, you know, if you're not used to now moving with your left hand instead of your right, you're now doing so without the opportunity to change it. So, you know, on one hand, I'm saying like, man, I really love the design of this game. You know, I love how you're even going in the reverse direction, just kind of change things up, kind of, you know, adding a different, you know, a different feel to the genre. You know, if you feel maybe it's a little stale, you know, of just like, you know, the same cliche directions or what have you, just sort of, you know, just changing it up. But, you know, and even changing the controls to a certain extent, you know, can be kind of cool. But if you're allowed to, you know, you have to kind of be allowed to change it up. And I found a lot of times with these first couple runs, this is just me trying out for the most part, you know, I found moving with my left hand ultimately the most difficult thing about this game. Not necessarily seeing patterns, but just using an entirely different hand and set of fingers to essentially move. But yeah, we'll discuss about that later. Onto the sort of gameplay of the game. We have a sort of reverse, vertical, almost like downwell type of game. And there's a few things. We're given a few different, we're given a couple hit points. And as our gauge goes with our sort of yellow goop that we're sucking up, as you can see, it's full now on that top left gauge. We can actually activate that to get more hit points, as well as spawn power-ups. This being our first run, we don't necessarily do so in a correct manner. We'll learn of its use in the later runs, as well as we have our sort of right mouse button to drop a bomb. And that's essentially it. You know, it's got roguelike elements, or not necessarily roguelike elements, but it does have power-ups that you want to take advantage of when using your gauge. Exactly, that's pretty much what you want to do right there, is that whenever possible, whenever full, you want to use that, just because you start off a little on the weak side and you want to kind of get that ball going. Particularly now that the game's heart is pumping. Coming across the first level boss, this sort of weird alien organ-like thing, is our bomb being deployed. And I mean, and it kills me, because there's a lot of this game that I do really like. You know, just the disgusting body horror of it, the retro, you know, 8-bit, you know, sound and graphics. It's just the options need to be, you know, a bit more fleshed out, as it were, you know. We also, looks like we get a point modifier when we're grazing bullets. Which I have to admit is probably accidental. Yeah, and more like that. Clumsily, clumsily just bashing into things. However, if we've been using our gauge to, there we go. If we've been using our gauge to fill out our health gauge, we probably could have beaten that boss. However, we didn't, so we're dead. Given the opportunity to go to our main menu or retry the level there, there's some, you can hit that right arrow to check out some cool little facts about your run, but we'll give it another go. So, we've learned some things. You know, we need to use our gauge whenever possible. And hopefully, our left hand, when it comes to dodging bullets, may be a little bit more experienced than the last run. But ultimately, I think that needs to be added in the options menu. As well as, I mean, not just for me in keyboarding support, keyboard binding support, but I mean controllers. You know, I mean, you know, there are plenty of people who would like to play this game with a controller instead of a mouse and keyboard. I think they, you know, ultimately should have the opportunity to do so. And I mean, of course, you know, I mean, there you go. Instantly get the gauge, instantly using it, getting pupil up, which seems to be maybe the size of our bullets. Just a random guess. Things getting really hectic over there. Although it looks like we have this cool little halo of tears, Binding of Isaac-like for a moment there. There we go, we get some more power up. So our attack's going to be more damage, I imagine. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to game design, you know, I'm sure there was a particular intent, you know. But I think ultimately, you know, maybe the intent maybe should just be like on default. You know, this is the way the game is intended to play without any sort of screw-arounds. But I think the screw-around should be in the options, just in case. And we got a pretty good setup here. Looking to get that big point pick up there. Got a nice wave of blue bullets ahead of us, as well as looks like some blue and green ones on the cardinal directions there as well. But the, you know, the going down part isn't necessarily the hardest part I'm learning in these runs. You know, it reminds me of certain levels in certain other games that kind of, they try to do that for a short time. You know, I think there's one in, shit, the name, it escapes me now. World Ignition. Something World Ignition. It escapes me now. I really should remember. Oh, they were just suffering damage there. And using the bomb. But yes, that had a level, if not a boss, that was kind of like this. So going down instead of up, not the hardest thing. It's at least for me personally, moving with my left hand, or at least dodging with my left hand. You know, I can mash the WASD buttons just fine with my left hand. You know. I've luckily have not found an incident that has removed any of my digits, thankfully, but proficiently moving my fingers away from these bullets seems to be the ultimate task. Now, I suppose, as we're approaching the first level boss, a sort of life hack would be to just move my mouse and my keyboard around. I suppose if worst comes to worst, that's what we'll have to do, is just sort of put our mouse where our keyboard used to be and our keyboard where our mouse used to be. And that should, you know, fix our problems as we're just bouncing against bullets now. Level 1 boss, hopefully taking some revenge against him. No, not this time. Dead again. That's going to be it for this video. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, do all that stuff, and we'll come back, we'll play some more Rheum in the future.